feel like what's going on is the team that definitely needed a point guard was the New York Knicks, and they signed somebody else. We'll go over that later, but I think after that, the NBA was like, we don't really have a lot of money to pay him a lot. So he's kind of thinking now, because he's probably, thinking, okay, the Cavs might want to sign other people. Is it going to be a sign and trade with me? Am I going to sign a long-term deal and try to do a sign and trade? Or, they're probably trying to feel out what options are out there in the market for a sign and trade. Because if he's going to do a sign and trade, he's going to want to sign a long-term contract. But if there's nothing, right, then he's probably going to sign a one-year deal, year deal. But the issue is if you're signing a one-year deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers to be in your prove-it year, he's going to come off the bench, or he's going to be fighting tooth and nail for minutes between him, Caris LeVert, and their old lottery pick, Ochai Agbaji. So, that's going to be a hard – because even if he has 14, 12, 13 points off per game off the bench, that's not a great statistical numbers. Like, the man was averaging 20-22 last year, the year before last year. It sucks that he wasn't able to get paid after that year, and he's just, he's in a tough situation because of situation. Because the Cavs, if he signs a one-year prove-it deal with a team that has a point guard opening, and they're saying, oh, we don't really have a ton of money, we'll throw him $10 million, the Cavs will probably be like, we're just going to match it, because he's a restricted free agent. As long as they match him, they can bring it back. So he's really in a tough spot. So this is going to be something that gets delayed out. I'm sure his best case scenario for himself is to sign a trade or be getting paid on a one-year deal where he could prove it. Even if teams that are trying to win and you might have dominant guards, I could see him being a good off guard to fit. And, it's a tough situation. I feel bad for him because, he really would have been $100 million man if this would have been last year. It's just, situationally, because the Cavs, if you sign Colin Sexton to a $100 million contract, then you have Jared Allen a $100 million contract. Now you have Darius Garland at a max, and now you have him at $100 million. What are you going to do when Evan Mobley becomes a free agent? Because that guy's going to be a max player. So, they're going to run into issues, and, it's also a thing because Colin Sexton wants to prove that he's the guy, right? He's not old enough to be like, okay, I know who I am as a player. I don't need to go out and try to prove I'm the guy. He might not play winning basketball to try to prove that he's the guy. He might take all of the shots off the bench just to get his stats up. So it's a really, really tough situation. And the Ricky Rubio 3-year deal shows me that they probably are thinking they're not going to bring him back because they probably want Rubio as the backup point guard. So that's me saying they're tipping their hand there. So it's really interesting. It's a really, really interesting thing. He's stuck in a tough spot.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where it goes back to my point of valuability. It just doesn't look like the way that it's okay. So he was out. The Cavs that can't pay him. They look at that roster and things like that, but they don't see how, in my opinion, how valuable he is. If he was to be like, he's trying to prove he's the guy, but he could be a great third option on a winning team. That's 20 to 25 points per game right there, easily. He's a scorer. He's been known as a scorer. He's not really much of a passer. That's why they bring Rubio in for that reason, But I think that it's just maybe I'm just being biased, but I think
I can see what you're saying. But every time that there's been a great six man, they've all been over the age of 30.
On a winning team,
like where they're playing pure to themselves. Like it's just an age thing where it's. These young guys, like, it's about getting the money, it's about proving who they are in the NBA, and it's about creating their own way. And I'm sure he's like, I averaged 22 points per game last year, and I'm not going to be able to be a starting point guard for any team in the NBA. Trust me, there are some teams in the NBA. The Spurs, Hello. I,
Yeah.
2.5 seconds, I would sign Colin Sexton.
They just got rid of their.
But I don't know what they're doing. So it's a situation thing, and the potential shooters are I don't know. So it's because if I'm the Cavs and I'm the head coach, man, I'm worried about bringing him on the team because first things first. If you have him starting both back to back, neither one of them are above like 6'2", 6'3". So having one of them guard the 2 guard is tough. And it's just those two. You won games with Darius Garland at the point and kind of playing with him. So it's just I would be worried about ruining a good team chemistry that I can build because Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are the core moving forward, and I would defend that by not allowing Colin Sexton. I would probably sign and trade him. I would sign him, give him the money, and trade him in 5.4 seconds. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, trade him to a different team. There's some teams in the league who could use him for sure.
Yeah. It's a really interesting situation.
It's just how valuable do they think he is?
Yeah. It sucks for him that he wasn't able to get the bag last year. Yeah.
Yes. It's because the Cavs didn't know exactly where they were going. You know what I mean? They signed him. I mean, they draft Darius Garland, and this was their filling out process, and then this is their coming to Jesus moment. They were like, Darius Garland.
Because for a while it was Darius Garland at 2.
You can go ahead and move out the way,
and
pretty much.
I did disagree with it a lot. I've been saying for a while that Darius Garland should be the point guard, but they had him at the 2 for a while, and they were forcing him to do non-point guard things, and then he gets in the situation, and he's like, wow, this guy really converts to winning. You know what I mean? Colin Sexton, we don't really know if he does. So it's an interesting thing, man. I feel bad for him. Hopefully he can get to a spot where he can have a chance of being a starting point guard. And, it's just a restricted free agency thing, too, and the Cavs' main match is tough. It's tough. Yeah. Are you ready to move on to the next team? The next team is Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
JaVale McGee, Theo Pinson. Not a ton to talk about. What do you think about that?
I like the JaVale McGee sign, though. I mean, we've known that since he's got into his little scuffle with Shaq and then came back and reinvented himself. I mean, we have learned that his style of play, defense, running the floor, just being active, leads to winning. It just leads to winning. So, I mean, I think that's a great sign because if you're moving forward and trying to build a championship contender, you need somebody who knows how to win,
I like
who
this
has been a winner before, and his style of play leads to winning.
Now, if you go play against Nikola Jovic, and you go into Denver, now you have somebody that can actually guard him. Because Christian Wood's not really the kind of Christian Wood's a small ball center, right? He fits what they want to do in Dallas, but now they have a different guy that can do different things. But worst case scenario, he could be the backup center. So, I think that was a really good pickup. So, you ready to move on to the Denver Nuggets? All right. Well, Nikola Jovic got the bag. I mean, the man's almost a $300 million man. It's crazy. Think about it. 5 years from now, there would probably be somebody getting paid $300 million for 5 years playing basketball. They also signed DeAndre Jordan, Devon Reed, Bruce Brown, who I think, let's hear about you talking about your team.
I mean, I'm not really excited with their signings for sure. I mean, the only thing that is kind of gives me a bit of hope is the Bruce Brown thing because we've seen that he was able to, really score.
No, you're thinking of somebody
make a
else.
difference
Bruce
a little
Brown
bit when he was playing
for the Brooklyn Nets.
Correct? Am I right?
Yeah.
The Nets. Yeah, I am thinking of somebody. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. I'm okay, listen. Be honest, I'm not gonna go, oh, this is a great signing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like any of this at all. DeAndre Jordan is old. He's just there to be there. I don't really care.
So
I mean,
have fun watching.
I'm just waiting for Jamal Murray and MPJ to come back onto the court.
That was super
I don't care about nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of this really makes a difference going forward. You have Nikola Jokic, you just gave like almost $300 million to, and then you signed DeAndre Jordan because like he was doing so great with the Lakers.
It's an interesting thing. I disagree with Bruce Brown to a certain extent. I think he's going to be a good defensive guard, where if situationally he might get minutes, but it's an interesting team. DeAndre Jordan might be able to be the backup center. It's going to be tough between him, Ismail Kamagate, and there's like another guy that they drafted last year. So it's going to be interesting. I think he might just be like 11th, 12th man on the roster, sits on the bench all year, and oh my gosh, Nikola Jokic is out for 2 weeks and he gets minutes. So that's the way I think that's going to go. Detroit. Yeah. The Detroit Pistons got Kevin Knox.
Yeah. They didn't do anything special.
What do you think about that?
Okay. Kevin Knox isn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't really been in New York, but I mean I think they can use him. I mean he's another tall guy who can score, defend. You said Marvin Bagley?
Duke.
That's interesting.
Duke.
I mean, he hasn't really been anything since he came out of Duke.
Blue Bloods.
I know it's one of those blue ones.
Our Blue Bloods, right? North Carolina.
Is it Kentucky?
Kansas.
The Duke Blue Devils?
Yeah.
Blue Bloods. Blue. Yeah.
I think
Blue Devils.
Personally, I think this is pretty solid because they're both young. They're both guys that you can take chances on, and 3 years from now, if they don't work out, you didn't really waste anything. Both of these guys were lottery picks that flamed out. One of them got drafted the pick before Luka Doncic. So, poor Marvin Bagley is going to get remembered that for the rest of his career. I take shots in the dark, see if it works out. Cool. Yeah. And the next team is the Golden State Warriors. Dante DiVincenzo got a 2-year deal. Kevon Looney got a 3-year deal. What do you think about that?
I like the Dante DiVincenzo signing, and adds more shooting as if they needed it. It's just more shooting up the bench. I like that though. I mean, they know their identity. They know what they need to go out for. They don't really have to. The thing with the Golden State Warriors, they don't have to really look for what they need because they can find it in a bunch of players. Like they don't have to go out and spend absorbent amount of money to go grab a star because they know we're a shooting team. We just need shooting.
I agree. I think he's going to be a nice rotational 2-guard. I think,
and that's what they do.
I wasn't really high on Moses Moody, so I don't think Moses Moody's ready to be the backup 2-guard yet. But, Kevon Looney is nice. One thing they lost in free agency is Otto Porter Jr. That's going to be a big loss. But that's where Jonathan Kuminga can step up and come in and be a rotational athletic forward for them. So his development is going to be big, but we all know he can already guard at a high level. So their offseason gets determined by Moses Moody, James Wiseman, and Jonathan Kuminga, and how much they can develop those guys in 1 year. Yeah. All right. The next team is the Houston Rockets. They've re-signed Jayshawn Tate. What do you think about that? Yeah, he's a forward, 6'5" from Ohio State. He's an undrafted guy. I'm glad that now they have forwards over there because I don't think he's a starter, but a bench piece that's young that can grow with the young core. So I think that's a solid re-signing that they don't really need to be aggressive about anything. Yeah.
Okay.
and Jabari Smith Jr. Congratulations.
No, they got Jalen Green.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
something moving forward. And
they did well
those
in the draft
picks that they got from the Brooklyn Nets look a lot better now that they traded for James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 4 or 5 years from now, the Nets could be a bad team. So
that's true.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Next one, Indiana Pacers got Jalen Smith. Returns on a 2-year deal. Anything you want to think about that? Okay, Jalen Smith is a rotational center that was
who did
he got paid because he had a moment on the Phoenix Suns this year where DeAndre Ayton was hurt and he got starting minutes and looked really good. So he traded them to the Pacers. No, the Pacers. They traded him to the Pacers this year, and now the
Suns got him brought back
on a 2-year deal.
Oh, you traded to the Pacers.
Yeah, athletic.
And he's a center. I mean, I guess it works if you somehow lose Miles Turner, but if you don't lose Miles Turner, I guess
I agree. Young that they want to build young now. Good backup, they're going young, so having a young athletic center that has potential to grow into something, I like it. All right, you ready to move on to the Lakers? Yeah. Juan Toscano Anderson, Troy Brown Jr., Damian Jones, Lonnie Walker, all Lakers. Mm-hmm.
Spurs, Lonnie Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad shooting guard. But what I want to talk about is Damian Jones, because after seeing Damian Jones, I was like, who's Damian Jones? I got to look at this. Wow. Have you seen? Sure. He's athletic. It's going to be a really good lob. He's probably the most athletic person on that team now.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Great lob threat. He's going to be dunking all over people. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's going to be great watching the Lakers. Juan Toscano Anderson,
yeah.
He didn't really... he played some. He played more.
He's a solid rotational guard. Nothing special.
He said...
he could have potential.
Really, I think he started on that Spurs team
for the Lakers if they're really weak at that position because he shoots threes, he shot Cates for a little bit. He's like a, Malik Monk kind of guy. He's on a 1-year deal. He's gonna go Lakers and make a lot of money. So, the Spurs just drafted Malachi Branham, and the year before they drafted Josh Primo. So I can understand them letting him go. You ready to move on to the next team? Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah. They re-signed John Morant, and it's paid, and now they also signed his backup point guard, Tyus Jones. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what else would you do? I would do the exact same thing. Give John Morant as much money as he wants. I don't care how hurt he is. Give him money. You guys had a winning season. Had he played, you might have won a little bit further.
I don't think they would have beaten the Warriors.
It was...
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. It would maybe made it a little bit more interesting. But still, looking at... me, organization-wise, looking at our team, I think we have great pieces going forward that we should just pay. Pay whoever you need to pay to keep them. You know what you need. You're building a winning team, a winning culture. You have young guys who you want to keep together, who you want them to grow together, because they're going to turn into something great in probably in the next year or two. You have so much to be proud of. Desmond Bain, Tyus Jones.
Yeah, they drafted a lot of young bench pieces in the draft as well. And Kyle Anderson did walk, though. Kyle Anderson went to a different team. We'll talk about them pretty soon. So, I think they did a pretty decent job. Nothing crazy bad, nothing crazy good, just kind of middle of the road. All right. The Miami Heat, they re-signed Victor Oladipo and Dwayne Dedmon. What do you think about that? Yeah.
I like the Victor Oladipo one, and I like Dwayne Dedmon as well, because going forward, I think he was hurt a little bit, so they both are coming back from injury. Well, Victor already came back from injury, but I think that's you got what you wanted going forward. Because with Victor Oladipo is going to give you 20 points off the bench. If he plays or not. And Dwayne Dedmon, I mean, he was showing flashes.
Yeah, I agree.